Eliminate the workplace excuse. That's what leaders do. This is the Career Blind Spot Podcast. What lie is ruining your day or your moment, your lunch break? What lie, what narrative, what story are you telling yourself? That's today's CBQ question. And this is actually coming from my driver's seat in my vehicle. I am post-gym workout. And I have tried to do this a million times. So I'm telling myself, you are not a podcaster, or at the very least, not a portable podcaster, as I speak into my lapel, which I actually somehow used before, but doing this solo, which I easily could just use my phone, decide to complicate it because I have a mic or two mics that eventually I'll put this episode out where my wife and I are talking from the hospital. So little teaser there, but I am a podcaster. I am a portal. I'm whatever the hell I want to be when it comes to recording audio or content. Yet there's this little voice in my head, if not loud, every time I try to do this. First time I attempted in the back of a Waymo, for those not familiar, Waymo, W-A-Y-M-O, are autonomous vehicles here in Phoenix, Arizona. I think they're in LA and probably Vegas or Seattle. No driver, Jaguar, really nice car, and they pick you up. And they're actually not as expensive as you would think. Availability and all that stuff varies, but we're barely in the area and it's super convenient. Anyway, I was going to ASU about a week ago and I was coming back for a little bit longer of a ride. So I was like, I'm going to sit in the back. I got my bag, I got my computer, and I'm going to do this portable thing. And I did, but the audio was terrible. And so here I am. Probably attempt number 7 on an episode that I've been, it's the middle and into the month. I think I got one more day in January and I've been kicking the can on making this, excited to make this episode. And for those who have listened before, not this kind of the false start, the name of this episode, false starts, summits and stories. These lies, that's a little harsher, but a lot of times the stories we tell ourselves, stories we tell other people are not the whole truth. And I've learned, just because someone didn't lie to you doesn't mean they didn't tell you the truth either, which sometimes that hurts too, or not helpful. But forget others for right now. Let's talk about ourselves. Like, we are lying to ourselves on many occasions. And that's not necessarily wrong. I think it's biological. It helps you solve problems. But yeah, let's talk about that. False. Things that are false. And the main reason is, again, or maybe not again, but I understand the world can be black and white, or doing things in black and white. This is right. That is wrong. This goes here. That goes there. That's how you triage, you problem solve, especially when you're familiar with something. And I think not just is that necessary, but I think it is good. It feels good, especially when you solve a problem you already know how. Hell, you're even a little cocky about it. There's a reason. Like, you're like, that's not the way you do it. Let me show you. Or you're watching someone do it incorrectly, or you could just crush it, automatically. Yes, that is one way to do things. And I think that I know that contributes a lot to a lot of success. It's like, go to the gym, just do your reps. But for a lot of us, that hasn't worked. And not to say that's not going to work, but in terms of, if just discipline and routine, all these things, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Well, breathing is kind of easy, but a lot of us, if not most of us, do it wrong in terms of being our happiest, calm self, etc. A lot of, have you ever said, hey, just calm down? Has that ever worked when someone told you that? And so this black and white, or this binary way of thinking, I'm not dissing it. But I also am not saying it's the whole way of thinking of things, because when you are binary, you're maybe not lying, but you sure as hell ain't telling the truth. And so that's why I call it false. And nuance, well, that's great too. Everyone's different, special, snowflake, unique, special powers, natural talent, whatever it is. Like, I love that stuff. And if you've been listening, no surprise, right? But, and it's a big but, it gets messy. It's always going to be messy. I've talked with countless college students who, there's students who are engineers or accountants or more traditional quality jobs in terms of benefits and pay, et cetera. And then there's other students who want to double major or do this new path or do this alternative thing or this innovative thing. And that's great. But then it's like, I don't know what to do next. It's so unclear. And it's like, yeah. And it's not like one is better than the other, although short-term goals, those of you out there who were there, it's like, man, I can't even get a regular paycheck or salary. But then, jump ahead 10, 20 years, and it's those people who are like, I can't leave this job. I'm dependent on it. What does fulfillment look like? What do purpose look like? But nuance is messy, and I think nuance is worth it. But so is binary thinking. So is triage, problem solving. And so to really go between both constantly, if not at the same time, that's the real skill, at least something I'm trying to perfect. And the reason, again, talking about these false start summits and stories, which probably should have said this at the beginning of the episode, I'll share a couple of each category. There's a quote out there. I can't attribute to exactly who said it, but I'll put it in the show notes. But my rough summary is to hold two opposing ideas to be true and being okay with it. It's a sign of maturity, peace, intelligence, etc. So from Nietzsche to Bob Dylan to, I don't know, probably a John Wick movie, it's been said. But I think that's the struggle. That's why you either kind of have this hubris of I know what to do or I don't know what to do. And so I don't do anything, or I'm afraid to try something new. And, this is supposed to be a workplace leadership podcast, still is. But the reason I'm talking about this today is the irony, a little meta here. I wanted to put this episode out at the beginning of the year, if not the end of last year, to kick off as I roughly re-debuted and stumbled out a couple episodes. But I got a kid, not excuses. I chose these things. But a couple of years ago, I did burn out on making the podcast and DIYing it, which I enjoy. That's kind of part of the, maybe not problem, but part of the struggle to be more consistent. I can go down the rabbit hole of getting lapels or testing out software. It's kind of fun. But where I really enjoy and benefit, and from a business standpoint, am doing what I am best at, it's this audio, if not visual, which there'll be some videos coming out eventually.
I make this show for leaders, those who don't point fingers, but point towards ways they can do better at work. My ask for listening is you share the show on social and or with other leaders, established or aspiring. Until then, no talent, no culture, no excuses.